So hi and welcome to today's video, and today we're taking a look at the Roccat Kone Pure Ultra here. This one's got a little bit of trick under its sleeve. It looks like the normal Roccat Pure Owl Eye here, and it's not. That's because it's got a skeleton shell inside it, and that allows it to fit into the ultralight mouse category, like the Model O MM710, Final Mouse's versions as well. What it does do though is it looks like a normal mouse here, because it's still got its standard shape without the honeycomb effects. Now, if you're not familiar with my channel, we go down a bit of a rabbit hole here with detail. We've got charts for comparison on things like latency using a 1000 FPS camera. Got a force gauge meter here to do the actuation force for the mouse buttons, as well as a glide test across pads to see how good the skates are. Got a caliper here as well to measure every inch of it, and also we've got the scales here to weigh it to make sure the vendors are telling us what their weight of the mouse is, as this is the ultralight category. If you're not sure how I do testing for all my videos and what the statistics mean and what the measurements are, then take a look at the video in the description and that will explain exactly how I do this so you can understand how to read these measurements. Now, if you want to see all this information from an archive, you can go on my Beardedbob website where all this information is contained. There's also a voting system, and the current highest voted video is the G-Wolf skull weight reduction, and that will be coming. So don't worry, I'm listening to you in that voting section. So getting to the price here, well, this is a prototype version here from Roccat. They have sent this out to me to review here. As you know, this won't affect any of my thoughts on this, and all the statistics that I'll show you anyway will prove whether I'm telling a lie or not. So check them out because it will justify what I'm going to say. Price for this is £59.99 UK pounds. It's on their website at the moment for pre-order, and it'll be coming out end of October, potentially into November, but check on their website to make sure that's correct because these things always change. This comes in Arctic White, which you see here, which is a great white. This is a super bright white here. I like this white color, and it also comes in ash black. The Arctic White is 0.5 grams heavier, they say, and that's probably something to do with the coating here. This mouse is predominantly right-handed players only because it's an ergonomic mouse here designed for right-handed players. It's got a 7-button combination. You've got the left and right button main buttons. You've got left side, front and back buttons. You've also got 2 DPI buttons on the top, and you've also got the scroll press down. As I say, this is the Arctic White version here. It's also got some black accents on it, which are in gloss. I think this sets off a really nice look. It's got a logo on the back here as well, which is RGB. The coating itself is very smooth, although I find it quite grippy. I expect it to be a little bit slippy here. The shape does help with that though. The curves here are really good on the side of this. They've got quite a lot of curve in them. They've got some nice little lips on the thumb here, so your thumb fits perfectly into this, or mine does anyway. The hump on this is more the back of the mouse, and it comes with a 2-skate combo, large skates front and rear. The scroll wheel has a rubber inside, which has got little cutouts to enable you to get good grip on it. So looking at the hand shape here, well, my hand's an 18 by 9 centimeter hand that you can see here. I've also done my girlfriend's hand, which is 16 by 7.5 centimeters. I generally use a palm hybrid claw grip here, but you can see this mouse is mainly aimed for a palm and claw grip. Fingertip grip could be used, but it's a little bit of a bigger mouse for that. And you can see here that it fits my hand really well. My girlfriend's hand here, not so well. It's a little bit big for her hand here. This mouse for me fits into the medium category in size wise, and it's aimed at the FPS market generally, but you could also use it for desktop or MMO if you want to. So the build quality here stands out on this Roccat. It's very, very good. It's built really well. There's no squeaks, there's no rattles, there's no scroll wheel rattle. This scroll wheel is rock solid here. And overall, I've got no issues with how Roccat have built this mouse. So getting on to the first movement latency test here. And we're using Rainbow 6 and CSGO. And in Rainbow 6, we've got an average of 1.13 seconds here, which is long. And it is the slowest mouse here by some margin. The fastest one here, to give you a comparison, is the XM1 mouse here from Endgame Gear. And that comes an average of 11 milliseconds. So that's quite a difference here. Now, I mentioned this to Roccat because in CSGO, the average comes in at 1.83 seconds as well. And Roccat said that they were going to look at this, and this could be a driver issue with it being a prototype. Because for me, it is a little bit abnormally long here, the latency. So as soon as they send me out some new drivers, I'll retest this and we can take a look and see what this latency is like. We'll see throughout this video how it compares in other latencies, but this one, it was a little bit high, should we say. So going on to the mouse draw test here, where we test the sensor. Well, they use a PMW3381 here, which is based off the well-known PM3389 sensor that I've tested before. For me, I've never really got on with a 3389. Or maybe it'd be slightly different here with the Roccat. Roccat called this the Roccat Owl Eye 16K sensor. But overall in these tests, for me, it performed exactly like the 3389. It's got that same kind of feel to it. I can certainly tell the difference now between the 3360, which is my favorite sensor, or the Hero from Logitech, compared to this 3389. Nothing really to report here that stands out. Even in the slam test, which I've not put in here, it didn't spin out as we expected not to. So getting into the first aim test here, we use Kovaak's. Starting to get some good readings on this now, and the first sum score here in Kovaak's was 85, with a final of 63.4, with an average of 75 accuracy. The second test, sum was 74, final was 52.7, and the accuracy was 71%. Third test was 82 sum, final 64.7, and the accuracy was 79%. This gave the Roccat here a final average score of 64.3 and an accuracy of 75. The record I hold at the minute is with my G Pro Wireless with a final sum of 98, a final score of 96 and an accuracy of 98. So this for me put the Roccat down in the lower end of the score here, although I haven't done many tests. There's still plenty more mice I need to test here, and I'm going to be doing that over Christmas when I've got a bit of time, because I've got a lot of mice to get through, and it puts it in the bottom area with the Ultralight 2 here for me. So we're on to 3D aim test here, and the first run came in at 83,672 with an average of 76%. Second run, 96,897 with an average accuracy of 75%. And the third one was 84,282 with an accuracy of 63%. This gave an average score in 3D aim of 88,284 and an accuracy of 71%. So the highest score here is held by the MK1. That's got 124,606 with an average accuracy of 71%, which is the lowest accuracy here. Roccat here came in the mid-table with the score with 88,284, but it came joint bottom with the MK1 with an accuracy of 71%. So obviously I'm having some accuracy issues. You could see this in Kovaak as well, which is more to do with the shape, I think, and perhaps a little bit of latency because I'm not used to Ergo mice. So how do the buttons feel? Well, they're using on the left and right mouse buttons the Omron D2FC FK 50 million click, and they've got an RT stamp, which I'm told is the Roccat quality assurance. So they go through another check in quality assurance by Roccat to try and get out any of these double clicking issues, which is nice to see. So these switches are the same as the G Pro Wireless. They just don't go through the Roccat additional quality assurance test. So to me, these feel a little bit snappier than my G Pro Wireless, but my G Pro Wireless is quite old now. I've been using it a lot, that's my daily, so that might factor into it here, but they did seem a little bit snappier. The side buttons are TTC switches, not really familiar with them, but I know a lot of the vendors do use them. I've seen them in some of the teardown videos that I've done. What's nice about this is it's got a nice short scroll click here, and it is very, very solid, this scroll wheel. It's certainly one of the better ones that I've tried. And the notches here are firm, which I'd like them to be a little bit more relaxed. They're a little bit bitey for me, you could say, but that would ensure that you don't probably skip through your weapons. So pre and post travel, well, I think the Roccat here has a little bit more pre-travel than some of the mice we've tested recently, and it certainly has some post-travel. And on the side buttons, again, there's a little bit of pre-travel. Nothing really here to worry about. So human benchmark, another latency test we're doing here, the Roccat scored an average of 178 milliseconds, which again puts it in the high latency end here, puts it in third behind the Skull from G-Wolves. Testing the button latency here using Blood PK, the left-hand side average came in at 155, and the right-hand average came in at 171. This puts the left mouse button mid-table compared to the rest, and it puts the right-hand mouse button just behind the XM1 at the bottom. So doing the bump test, well, the reigning champion here, which knocked off the XM1, is the MK1. This is the fastest mouse we've tested. It is very close to the Viper, but the MK1 is maintaining its champion role here. And placing the Roccat against this, the MK1 in the first test, which is the MK1's right mouse button versus the Roccat's left mouse button, the MK1 won. And in the second test, where it's the MK1's left button versus the Roccat's right button, the MK1 won again, which means the MK1 is still the champion, and the Roccat did not beat it. So carrying on with the button latency test here, we're going into Rainbow 6 here, and we're going to test the latency from when you press the button to when you see the fired shot in Rainbow 6. And the average score here came in at 1.16 seconds, which again makes it the slowest in the test. Again, some kind of issue here potentially. And given the MK1 comes with an average of 24 milliseconds, which is the fastest. Taking into CSGO here for the same test, the average was 1.29 seconds, again, the slowest by far, with the leader being the Razer Viper of 23 milliseconds. So clicks per second here, well, it scored 6 clicks per second. This puts it in joint third, which isn't bad here. The force gauge meter now we're going to run across the buttons to work out how much pressure you need, because this can be determined by the switch as well as the shell. So going on to the force gauge meter, the average left front was 43, the middle was 59, and the rear was 117. The right hand side front was 44, the middle was 62, and the rear was 128. This gives the buttons an average force gram actuation of the left being 76 and the right being 78. Comparing this against the other buttons that we've tested, there's nothing here that stands out. It just puts it in the middle, leaning more a little towards the firmer side. So the side button average front was 72 and the rear was exactly the same with an average of 72. Again, this puts it in the middle for actuation here, nothing to report. Scroll wheel force press comes in with an average 175 grams with 24 notches, so it fits in line with everything else here. The scroll wheel press is second lightest here, which is good to see, just behind the Ultralight 2, which we tested last week. And this makes it probably to me one of the best feeling scroll clicks around at the moment. I certainly like this one. So now onto the weight that everyone's been waiting for, because this is what this Kone Pure Ultralight's about. And Roccat here, I've specified on this box that it's 169 grams, but they also, now the official one, because this was a prototype, say it was 66 grams in ash black and 66.5 grams in Arctic white. So when we dropped this on the scales, it came in a weight of 68 grams, which is in accordance with what they're telling me on the box, and 1.5 grams heavier than what they're saying it should be. So it's within tolerance of both sides, really, in fairness here. So nothing here to report. Nice to see they're weighing it correctly. And if you want to see what it's like with all the cables, it's 103 grams. So compare this to the rest of the mice, and the Kone Pure Ultralight here is sitting at the lower end, the nice and light end where you want it to be, even though it's a full-bodied mouse with no holes. So moving on to the glide test here, where we test the friction across the pad, and the NSW came with an average of 24, the NFW comes in at 32, the RSW comes in at 30, and the RFW comes in at 35. This gives it an average of 31 grams force required to glide across the pad here. This puts it in the control area because it's quite high compared to some, rather than speed. I'm sure some manufacturers will be sending out some new skates for this, so if they send me some, I will certainly do some glide tests on it across other different pads here, like we do for other mice, or I'll just buy some myself anyway and try it. So moving on to the dimensions here, well, I'm measuring these slightly different now because it's an ergonomic mouse, and the front of them are slightly slanted, so we're going to have a standard width, which is the middle. We're going to have a width long, which is the longest right-hand corner usually, to the back, and we're also going to do the longest short, we're going to call it, which is the left-hand side, which is the shorter part of the ergonomic mice, to the rear. So the standard width in the middle is 119 millimeters. The longest point here measures in also 119 millimeters, but the shortest length comes in 116 millimeters. Width in the rear is 69 millimeters. The middle top is 52 millimeters. The middle is 60 millimeters. The middle bottom is 58 millimeters. Middle front is 56 millimeters. The height on the rear is 36. The middle height is 38, and the middle front height is 24. The button width is 27 millimeters on the left and 27 millimeters on the right, which is good to see. The scroll wheel thickness is 9.1 millimeters and the length is 24 millimeters. So the cable thickness on here is 3 millimeters, which is quite a thick cable here. It's also rubber, and to me it's not very flexible. They could have done a little bit better on the cable here. I mean, I put this in the medium flex. It's not absolutely rigid, but it certainly could do with a little bit of improvement. I would personally certainly power cord this straight away, so Roccat get a badge of could do better in the cable category. Software, which is a pet hate of mine, you'll understand that. I absolutely just don't get companies that charge expensive mice and don't offer you the option for software. At least offers the option to be able to install it or not without just providing it whatsoever, and no ability to control your mouse. And Roccat here they provide the Swarm software here. In this software, you can see here that Roccat will give you the ability to control pretty much everything on this mouse. It's pretty intensive, this software. You can control things like the DPI profile. And I see you can change it in 50 increments. You can tweak the vertical and horizontal speeds independently. You can assign different combinations and buttons to the mouse itself. You can do macros if you wish. There's a metric ton of stuff you can do with the buttons here, which is nice to see. You can turn on and off the debounce. You can change the lift-off distance if you wish as well and calibrate it to the pad. Overall, a decent software package here from Roccat. What would be nice, and quite a lot of them do this unfortunately, is they only limit you to 5 profiles. I play more games than that, and I'd like to have more profiles. Seems to be a limiting factor to some of these softwares, but overall, nice bit of software. So my conclusion here for the Roccat mouse. The shape here from Roccat I love. It really does fit my hand here, but it does not work for me, as you can see in some of these tests. I just can't get used to it. I prefer an ambidextrous mouse, but Roccat have done a really good job here, especially around the thumb area, where they pretty much tailor this to the thumb, which is nice. As we say, this is a prototype mouse here, but there are some abnormal latency problems here, especially in the games, where they potentially need to do some improvement here. And I do hope they send out that driver and I'll be able to update it and then retest this. Looking forward to that. The cable again for me needs some work. It's pretty stiff. They could have done probably a slightly better job here with shoelace and what is currently being put out into the market with some of the mice like Razer's Superflex. You've got Model O's Ascend. You've also got Final Mouse's version there, their shoelace one. So we're certainly going to let it down in this area. Scroll wheel, one of the best I've tried by a margin here. It's rock hard. I'll be surprised if many of you don't like this wheel. The only thing that I probably would do is make it slightly thinner. It is a little bit thick. But in the teardown video, we'll see how it's put together and see what that scroll wheel really looks like. Overall, a decent mouse. I like the software. I like the coating on this. Overall, a nice mouse here. Just a bit of a shame let down by some maybe early development issues, potentially. Soon we'll be reviewing the MM710. We've got that very shortly, probably the next one, I think. Model O minus and the Hayat from G-Wolves, which I'm looking forward to do as well. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my voting system if you want to see some more. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll catch you all again soon. See you later.